Have you ever felt like you're doing everything you can to help a child succeed, but something just isn't working? That's the moment that led to Grade Level Guru. Today, I'm sitting down with my best friend and co founder, Amanda, who's also a former classroom teacher, and we're going to talk about what she saw every single day in her classroom and why we knew something had to change. So, Amanda, take us back. What made you first want to become a teacher?
I first became a teacher in Mexico because I needed a job. But I can go. It's more profound than that. I taught at a language school, like a little language school, and students actually paid to attend this language school. And some of the teachers at this language school were not that great. Some of them showed up not sober to work. And that really bothered me. I was like, these people are paying money to come learn English, and you are not showing up sober to your job. So that was like my first real job out of college. I was 22 and became like the director of English education at this little language school. It sounds like a fancy title, but really it wasn't. And yeah, so I like did all my language classes. They had zero curriculum, so like you have to build everything. And I organized like parties for the students. Like we did, we had like an American Christmas. This was in Mexico. We had like an American Thanksgiving. We had like an American 4th of July. So like I started to organize events for the school to kind of like celebrate the culture behind the language that the students were learning. So I really leaned into like doing a good job for the people who were literally paying money to come learn. So like I guess I like really valued education and found it very important that these people were investing their time and their money and that they deserved the best in return. So like I really respected that.
What did you love most about those early years in the classroom?
Probably I felt really proud of what I was doing. I think it was I think it was my first year's teaching and my last year's teaching that I probably felt most proud of like what I was actually doing for the people in front of me. I mean, of course, when you're 22, you tend to be very proud of everything you do. You think you're like the best in the world. But like I leaned into that teaching role a lot. And like the people at the school really appreciated me. Like for the few years that I was there, um, like I think they thought that I did a really good job, and that was good. And yeah, like my last few years teaching, just like, when kids tell you, like, no, you actually did these things for me, and like, no, I actually liked your class, and I liked you, and you were a great person, and like, you motivated me to be different. Like, it was stuff like that.
That's really what it all comes down to as a teacher, right? When the students come back and they're like, I got a lot of value out of
And you're like, it was worth
you.
it.
It was worth it. But at some point you started to notice that something wasn't sitting right. I know particularly in your last teaching job at I'm waffling. Particularly in your last
Her chair moves.
my chair moves. I'm trying really hard to like core.
It encourages good posture.
I'm doing my best, fam. So when did you first realize that something wasn't working the way it should be?
Okay, so I think I had that realization a couple times. The first time was when I moved from teaching at charter schools to teaching at a public school. I taught at charter schools in Philly for like a decade before moving to Delaware. And when I made that shift from teaching at charter schools to teaching in a public school, I noticed a huge shift in the like rigor. Um, public school is really different from the charters I was at. Like they had paid curriculum, there were a whole teaching staff, there were teams. Like my boss had a boss and they had a boss, so like a lot more infrastructure. And I was like, oh my god, the curriculum that we were teaching at that charter school was actually like not good. So that was one realization, and then Another realization I had of like, say the question again.
When did you first realize something wasn't working the way it should?
Oh, that something wasn't working the way it should. Okay, so like with the curriculum that I was like, oh, this curriculum that we've been saying is like a ninth, 10th grade curriculum. I'm like, oh, this actually is not nearly hard enough or
Mm.
nearly rigorous enough. I realized that going from charter to public. And then in public school, um, the first years we taught, um, we had a curriculum that was largely built by the teachers, like teachers looking hard at student needs and being like, this is what our kids need. But like, honestly, a lot of the texts that we read in the ninth and 10th grade were not ninth and 10th grade texts
Mm.
because we're doing what our students need. And our students were like quite below grade level. And like, standards get lowered. Like a teacher is like, my students literally cannot read this text, so they pick a text that is easier. That happens. Um, then we got a new curriculum, so like guaranteed every text is like on grade level. Um, but then your students are still way below grade level. So like if you look at like how many kids are actually on grade level, it's, I mean, on a test, if your kid's not scoring in like the top 75th percentile, they're not on grade level. The vast majority of students in America are not on grade level. So something is not working.
So, I'm hearing this right, that like our students, they're not on grade level. And I remember teaching in fifth grade, I would teach kids every year who were coming in behind, and as a result, you do have to, you're like, I can't teach something that nobody in the class will understand. I've got to teach something that's accessible. Maybe I can teach up to it, but like I've got to alter sort of what I'm putting in front of my students. Do you think parents understand where their kids are?
I think something that would shock a lot of parents is, so like I had a lot of the classes I taught were co-taught, which means that there's a larger percentage of students who have IEPs, individualized education plans, special education. Um, and in those classes, you build a lot of accommodations into every single lesson, every single activity, every step of the way. You build in accommodations to help assure that every kid is going to be following you along every step of the way. And let me tell you, I used accommodations in every single class I taught.
Mm.
Every single student, pretty much every single student, like whether like they needed them. I think a lot of parents would be shocked that if you took what are typically labeled special education accommodations away from like the way you build a lesson, the way you build a unit, that kids would struggle a lot more. So
Mm.
I think parents would be shocked if they knew that how many special education accommodations are built into just like literally every single lesson, because every kid kind of needs them.
Mm.
They benefit from it, but yeah, they struggle without accommodations.
So when did it hit you that this wasn't just like a one-off problem? It wasn't just this class of kids. It wasn't just this year. It's a systemic problem.
I mean, I was a teacher for 20 years. I'm not a teacher anymore. I was a teacher for 20 years. And like, so I know how rare it is to look at a student's test score and to see 90th percentile, 80th percentile, 70th percentile. That's rare. Um, and I don't know. I think that's pretty scary that like more kids should be on grade level. Like, again, the majority of kids in America are not on grade level. If a kid's not scoring in the 70th percentile, they are actually not on grade level, because it's, you know, even before the pandemic, it was a problem. Like most students. So like when you look at percentiles on your test score, like you can't really trust that. If it says 50th percentile, like that doesn't mean, oh, they're on grade level.
Right.
Like it's got to be a way higher number, because the average kid in America is below grade level.
Below grade level.
Like shockingly, sadly below grade level.
So it sounds like, even if parents had this sort of insider information, like even if they understood, oh, I'm looking at a 60th percentile, which seems like it should be better than it is, and even if they knew their kid wasn't on grade level, would they know what to do to support them to get them there?
I don't think they would. Like the parents, like when I talk to people my age who have kids and they know I'm a teacher, so like very frequently that conversation goes to education. Like it's just, it just happens. Everybody experiences education. People who have kids are always thinking about their kids' education. And like it'll always just come up like, oh, they're having trouble with some reading, or like, oh, they started fractions in school and like we hit a roadblock with fractions. And there's always just like a question mark. Like people are usually concerned, and then like they're like, I don't know what to do.
So it's like parents, what you're finding, and I know I can echo this as a teacher myself. Parents care deeply about how their children are doing. They want them to be doing well, but they lack clear, actionable information to really bridge that gap,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and I'd really like to transition here because I think this is important. How did that feed into this idea for grade level guru?
How did, wait, say the question again?
So, how did parents needing that clear, actionable information, because they care and they want to be able to support their students, but what they're getting doesn't help them figure out how to bridge that gap, right?
Yes.
So, how did that inspire the idea for grade level guru?
Okay. So when a parent realizes that, like, oh, we're struggling with XYZ thing at school, and then they're like, I don't exactly know what to do. That is not a shocker to me as somebody with 20 years of education, because like when I think of the information that is like readily made available to parents, report cards, not all that informative. They really don't tell you anything. Um, Test scores, they tell you something, but then they don't tell you anything actionable. Like on a test score, you might get like a grade level equivalency, or you might get like a percentile,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't tell you what to do. And in the parent report, it doesn't even tell you what standards your kid was proficient or, like above, below, whatever in fact, even if you ask the teacher to like, oh, give me the detailed report that you have, because the teachers know the standards where the kids were like on, above, below grade level. The teachers get that report, and a teacher could give that to a parent, but then it's like, what does this mean? What do I do? So like it's not surprising that a parent who like wants to do something, nobody's informing them what to do. There are no tools out there that tells you exactly what to do, unless you put your kid on a computer. All of the programs out there that are like individualized education catered to your students' exact learning needs are putting a kid on a computer. And I don't know a single parent who is like excited about putting their kid on a computer for like an extra hour every day so that they can get better at fractions. Like,
Right.
That's, in my opinion, not a good solution. So like that's, where we thought of like, is it really that hard to give parents an idea of like, this is what you can do to help your kid? And is it really that, like, is it rocket science? It's not rocket science. Like just a little bit of guidance. can go a long way for somebody who's like a little motivated to do something.
And I think the beautiful thing about that, right, about your idea for grade level guru is that it's not about more screen time. It's about building the capacity of parents to be able to bridge that gap between what their child knows, what they're learning at school, and what they can demonstrate that they know how to do.
Yeah.
And it's all about building up that parental muscle to build those habits into their lives at home.
Yeah. Because like I said before, like it's not rocket science. You know, like teachers do it with 120 kids, with 25 kids. Like they do it with a lot, and they do 500 things in addition to that. But like for a parent to have a little impact with a kid, like they can 100% do it, but they just need guidance and direction and a tool. And that's what we were like, we could build that.
We can build that. So I think this is a great way to transition into what makes Guru different from a lot of the other stuff that's out there.
The screen time, while we are building like a phone app and like the YouTube channel and like this podcast, like it isn't, we are not a screen time thing. And it's building the capacity of a parent. Like most of the educational tools, all of the educational tools out there are all like geared for like teachers to be used in a classroom. There is a teacher component that we are building that is going to be wonderful. But like a lot of our motivation is for parents to like, because they're a piece of the puzzle too. And right now they're like a really important piece of the puzzle that nobody is helping them be effective. So we're going to try to like help them be effective.
Because like we know that the research supports that when parents are involved in their kids' learning, when parents are active partners in the learning journey, students benefit academically. So I know our goal really is to build up that parent muscle to be able to be a strong partner in their parents' learning, in their child's learning. Because I know from my own child who walked in this standing behind the camera, I know that when you are just yelling at them to do their homework, that is not that does not have the impact we think it's going to have. It is not getting the job done. So if you could say one thing to parents who are listening right now, what would it be?
It would be to look for us on Instagram because we have good content there, but we have like 50 followers right now. So like look for us on Instagram, look at the content, because like I was a teacher for 20 years. Like it is good, valuable content. Is it difficult to integrate? No, that is like another major goal, is that like we want to make this as easy as possible for parents and teachers, because God knows nobody wants a single other thing on their plate. We want to help, we want to be impactful, we want to have, like help things, but we do not want to feel overwhelmed by any of it. So find us on Instagram. You have already found us on YouTube, but look at our other content, because like even though like we're still building the app, we're still building the teacher platform, like we are really leaning into putting like content out there that is helping our goal of like giving parents like a really easy way to like have a impact on their kids' learning and to help their kid be more successful in school.
That's right. It's accessible, it's actionable, it takes less than 5 minutes a day to build a strong, healthy academic habit. So, what's something that gives you hope?
What's something that gives me hope? I still believe that we have a really good idea. And I believe that once people actually look at more than 6 seconds of our content,
that part.
Like I do still believe that parents who have who are like thinking about their kids' education and like want to like kind of get into their kids' education and like be involved, but like in an easy way. Like, don't go crazy, but like, I want this to be easy, but I want to be involved in my kids' education.
Mm-hmm.
Are interested. I think uh, I think people will find what we're building here very valuable. So I guess it's my vision that gives us hope. That gives me hope because I think it's a good vision, and I think people will like it when they see it. Once more than 50 people see it.
That's the key.
Yeah, 266 people watched the video with my cat, but they only watched like 6 seconds of it.
That's not enough. That's not enough cat time.
Yeah.
So if this conversation resonated with you, you're exactly who we're voting for. Follow along as we continue building grade level guru and rethink how families support learning every day. That's the end. That's it.
The end.
We're done.
Bye.